No one said the final 2 weeks of the season would be easy, and last night the green and gold found that out. After a successful road trip, the A's returned home and ran into a red-hot Angels team who poured on the offense and put a snag on Bo Mel and the boys' push for the postseason. Tonight, Sonny Gray gets the nod. His job will be to cool down the bats of an Angels team that is playing their best baseball of the year. Game 2, A's, Angels, next. Another beautiful night for baseball at the O.co Coliseum. Game 2 of the series. Angels won last night. A's will try to even up the series tonight. It's the Angels and the Athletics coming up here on Comcast Sportsnet California. Mike Trout, a big game last night. He had a homer and 3 RBIs for the Angels. And tonight, Sonny Gray is going to get the baseball for the Athletics. The A's with a 6.5 game lead over the Rangers. The Rangers are playing right now. In fact, they're 3 outs away from breaking their 7-game losing streak. So the A's magic number right now is sitting at 7. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Oakland A's Baseball. Along with Ray Fosse, I'm Glenn Kuiper. You saw Sonny Gray. He will take the mound tonight for his 8th start as a big leaguer. And Ray, the story in his last start, he went 5 innings, he got the win, but he also got massive amounts of run support.
How about a 10-run inning? You'd like that as any starting pitcher would, but he's 3-3 on the season. At least he's faced these Angels. It was one time in relief, but he's been doing a very good job. His last start against the Twins, great pitches, great curveball there. He's got a good 12-6 curveball. He's also thrown it like a slurve, but a good fastball, sticky fastball, also mixing in a few changeups. Stephen Vogt caught that game. He's behind the plate in tonight's game as well. But amazing how well he is pitching as a youngster in September.
And the Angels are playing very good baseball. Obviously too late, but still, they're going to be a tough opponent for the A's, not only in the final 2 games of the series, but next weekend. Mark Trumbo has been tough on the A's.
He is unbelievable. Such a strong hitter. Actually, with Albert Pujols on the disabled list, he gets a chance to play first base every day. This is what he did the last time they were in town. This was a moonshot off Dan Strader. It just kept going and going. Tremendous power. He did it last night with a double down the left field line, but a little bit later, he shows he can go opposite field with the power. He is as strong as there is. This followed the Mike Trout shot off of the sweets in center field. An opposite field shot by Trumbo there, but a very good hitter, good first baseman. I think he is a very good first baseman to the point that now that Pujols is on the disabled list, that's a perfect spot for him.
And Trumbo with 98 RBIs, so 2 RBIs, right. He will get the 100 RBI mark for the first time in his career. So game 2 of the series is coming up. Angels with a blowout win last night. A's will try to even up the series tonight. We'll have lineups at first pitch from the Coliseum in just a moment.
Comcast Sportsnet California is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Go big at a participating Jack in the Box with Jack's really big chicken sandwich combos for only $3.99 plus tax.
Go Tops for the A's tonight. Red Tops for the Angels. Game 2 of this 3-game series. And the A's just about set to take the field. Lineup cards have been exchanged, and we're set to go for the Athletics. Game number 151.
Looks like those guys are ready too.
Sonny Gray is almost ready.
Gotta wait for the starting pitcher. Go to alternate jerseys for tonight. Sonny likes those, and I think the skipper likes them as well.
Let's look at the game time weather tonight. It's presented by the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Get to the beach. The admission-free boardwalk is open this weekend. 72 degrees, cooling off nicely as we get into the evening hours. So fall weather, as we have experienced, supposed to cool off a little bit this weekend from what I understand. So the A's indeed take the field, and it's about set to get this baby going. Let's look at the lineup tonight for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Shuck is the DH tonight, then Kendrick, Trout, Hamilton, Trumbo, Calhoun, Ibar, Iannetta, and Romine.
Every pitcher likes it, and it's called run support. And Sonny Gray got plenty of that in his last start against the Twins at Target Field. We talked about his lack of run support prior to that start, but 18 runs later, he was able to pitch 5 innings and even his record to 3-3. Good fastball, good curveball, changeup, and 1 relief appearance against the Angels in Anaheim. His first start is tonight.
Here's the A's defense tonight. Brandon Moss is going to play left field tonight. Coco in center, Reddick in right, and then Donaldson and Sogard on the left side of the diamond. Cayaspo and Barton on the right side. Vogt is your catcher.
Jed Lowry still not able to play at 100%. A bit of a hamstring injury. He said he got hit, and then that kind of affected the other leg. And so why not? This is the time of year for an infielder who has played more than he's ever played. So back-to-back games in which he is not in the lineup tonight.
There's your final, Ray. Just finished in St. Petersburg. The Rangers got a much-needed win. They won 7-1 tonight. Kinsler led off the game with a home run, and the Rangers rolled from there. So Texas breaks its 7-game losing streak. So the Rangers and the Rays now tied for 2 wild card spots in the American League.
Well, the Rangers, after Kinsler hit the home run, had to be thinking, had not hit a home run in 7 consecutive losses. He leads off the game.
And they hadn't had a lead.
That's right.
In any of those games until Kinsler homered.
So the home run, the lead, and all worked out well at St. Petersburg.
So those 2 teams will play 2 more games. That's a 4-game series down in Florida. So the A's know what the Rangers did, and they'll try to go to work tonight on the Angels. So we're ready to roll as J.B. Shuck steps in. A's 88-62 on the year, 47-28 at home. And they have a magic number of 7 to win the division. First pitch from Gray is a fastball right down the heart of the plate, and it's 0-1. 297 for Shuck. Couple of home runs and 39 RBIs. How about that note down at the bottom? He leads all American League rookies in hits. So he's been playing a lot. See the second half of the season.
Yeah, that's been the amazing thing for the Angels. We mentioned last night with Peter Borges, good outfielder, and also Torrey Hunter, and Vernon Wells no longer with the club. So he gets a chance to play, and he's performed well. I think the A's realize after last night, it was a tough night for Jarrett Parker, but coming off his illness on Sunday, which he could not start, so it backed up everybody. But I think from the A's standpoint, they know they need to get the good pitching, and they have the capability of doing that.
That one bounced to the right side. Barton flips to Gray, and that's out number 1.
I think there'd be some guys. You saw the shot at Cayaspo. He walked against Sonny Gray when Cayaspo was a member of the Angels. And Sonny made his second relief appearance since he joined the club. That was in Pittsburgh, and then stayed with the club during the time in which the A's did not need the fifth starter. Had an extra man in the bullpen, so gave Sonny Gray a chance to get his feet wet. He did, and he's pretty much put himself in the rotation now.
So one out. Here's Howie Kendrick. First pitch to Kendrick is a fastball high. 303, 11 homers, 48 RBIs for the Angels second baseman. Couple of hits last night, scored a couple of runs. Angels had 12 runs and 15 hits last night. They had a couple doubles, they had a triple, and a couple of home runs. Damage done by that man, Trumbo. 2-0 pitch, and that's a strike. 2-1.
That's the kind of pitch and the location that Sonny Gray wants to pitch. He elevated the pitches to Chuck to start the game, and first two to Kendrick were up and out of the zone, and that is a tough pitch for any hitter to hit. Check swing, but a good strike, good location by Sonny Gray.
Donaldson charges, and it's a foul ball. I mean, a nice play, but it's a foul ball. So the count even at 2-2.
Did the best thing. He made the play, and we've seen him do that this year, and you just cannot hesitate and think that it's foul or fair. You just make the play and wait for the decision by the umpire. But he caught the ball close, and at that point maybe not knowing if it crossed the bag, which is a fair ball, but see the umpire throwing up his hands at his Conroy. But Donaldson completes the play, got a nice ovation from the fans, and try to do it again with the count 2-2.
Exmo brought to you by Cache Creek Casino Resort. Two pitches, a fastball low. Full count to Kendrick with Trout in the on-deck circle.
Sonny Gray, like Jared Parker last night, trying to establish the fastball in the first inning. That's the extent of his pitches so far. All fastballs.
And a good one there, 95 miles an hour. Kendrick strikes out, 2 outs. All right, here's our Ford Wright choice. Comes from last night. Mike Trout, a big night. This was his 24th home run of the year. Look where it lands. It hits off the window of the luxury suite in center field. Estimated distance, somewhere between 420 and 460 feet, we think. Probably closer to 460. Trout said it was the furthest ball he has hit all season. Quote, I didn't even feel that one off the bat. And who's going to argue with Mike Trout? That was
Figueroa, the guy threw it. You say it's a fly ball. He pointed up. Maybe he was pointing that it was going to orbit.
Yeah,
because
that almost did.
It ball was hit. But I guess a lot of times pitchers, they know it's a fly ball. They're pointing up to let the outfielders know.
And that one's drove to center. Coco Crisp is going back, and he's going to watch another one. Another moonshot by Trout, and it's 1-0 Angels. Number 25 for Trout.
Now, while Sonny Gray has a good fastball, and he threw one by Howie Kendrick, you have to realize Trout's a third hitter. He's a great fastball hitter. He saw all fastballs to Chuck Kendrick, and here's the 1-0, and there goes the 1-0. And that is about a thigh-high fastball. And who cares what velocity? He hit it just as well as he did the one last night.
And Hamilton shoots one into left field for a base hit. I remember when the Angels were here earlier this year, we talked about an at-bat where Trout just stayed within himself. That's a 2-0 fastball right down the middle, and most guys would just be ripping it, right? Trying to pull it. He just stayed back, and he hit it to, it was deep right center field. Well, that's impressive.
And that's a similar location that he hit a ball earlier in the season, which was the completion of a cycle. I think it was a 3-0 fastball that was about ankle high, and he hit it to right center for another moonshot home run. And it was the first curveball. 5 batters. But Guys can hit fastballs, and there's not a velocity that a that a hitter cannot hit. I don't think there's any. I mean, really, almost the harder you throw it, the easier the swing and the farther it goes.
A couple of breaking balls to Trumbo, and it's 0-2. Trumbo with 34 home runs, 98 RBIs. Knocked in 3 last night. One-two pitch is bounced toward Donaldson, and he'll go to second. Side retired. Mike Trout with another long home run, his 25th of the season. So after a half an inning, the Angels lead 1-0. Lineup for the Athletics. Coco Crisp will lead off in center. Barton moves up to the second spot. Donaldson at third. Moss in left. Cespedes will again DH. Then Reddick, Callasbo, Vogt, and Sogar.
Garrett Richards, who has a very good fastball, low to mid-90s, curveball, slider, changeup, and faced a couple of times this year. He's had a loss and no decision, so the right-hander in the rotation spent a lot of time in the bullpen in the early middle part of the season. But now in Mike Scioscia's rotation, and see the number of starts, the number of games, 15 starts for the right-hander.
So 30 relief appearances, and now his 15th start. So Richards to face Coco Crisp. First pitch to Coco is a strike on the outside corner. The A's lead the season series over the Angels 9-5. The A's record in the division is 40-28. The A's will win. I should say they'll win the season series. They got a pretty good 9-5 cushion, but 2 more here and then 3 more against the Angels next week in Anaheim.
And those guys want to win badly. The Angels, Mike Scioscia, Mike Butcher is the pitching coach. Yeah, unfortunately, they have to start thinking about next year, but it's something they want to try to build on, especially going into the offseason. C.J. Wilson's 17th win last night.
Setting up inside to Coco. And bounces in the dirt. So are you a believer that, and take the Angels, for example, a team that has underachieved, but yet playing well at the end of the year. How important is it for a team that thinks they should be better than they are, record-wise, but to finish strong? have a good month of September?
I say for the young players who are getting a chance to play, and I mean, Trumbo is going to put up his numbers anyway, and Trout is going to put his up. Pujols on the disabled list. They have to be looking at pitching is their number one objective. Remember, Joe Blanton started the season rotation. Richards in the bullpen and kind of flip-flop. Hanson they acquired in the offseason. With C.J. Wilson they had with, of course, Jared Weaver, top of the rotation. With the bullpen, which in many years has been very solid, very strong. But I think they have the offense. But I think also that they like to finish strongly and hope that they can continue that into next year, something they did not do last year.
Here's the defense for the Angels. Hamilton, Trout, and Cole Calhoun in the outfield. Romine, Ibar, Kendrick, Trumbo on the infield. Iannetta is the catcher tonight.
You know, I think the biggest thing, Kuiper, what you're saying is that the manager, pitching coach, the staff, they want to play hard. They want to see their players play hard. And I think the players recognize that staff, unless you're a proven player, an established player, you're going to play hard anyway. But they want to see this team play hard all the way to the end. And considering they finished with the A's and the Rangers, they feel that they can actually have an impact on what happens in the last couple of weeks. Disappointing, though. It has to be very disappointing for the Mike Scioscia especially, and get accustomed to going to postseason, and some of the veterans on the team.
And it could be a little bit of a stretch to say, well, you know what, you finished strong in September. It's going to help you next year. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but
well, I think there's a reason that people say you don't ever count spring training numbers in September, and especially if you're out of it. If they are not meaningful games, you know, how do you really look at the games and the way players are performing? Again, we've seen Trout and Trumbo and Kendrick, and you know the veterans are going to put up the numbers. You disregard them. It's the younger players. How do they play in meaningful and stressful games?
playing within the division has been a problem for the Angels. They're 10 games under. It's the AL West. Barton chops one. First baseman Trumbo. He's going to have to get the out at first, and he does, just barely. He had a jump high, and then he looked towards second, really did not have a play there, and got Barton at first.
Now the tough first baseman is going to be Kendrick handling it anyway. Kendrick would have gotten the play at first a lot easier than having the pitcher come over to the field. But also you could see Trumbo as he caught the ball. He looked a second to see if there's a chance to get Coco, which there was not. And there's your foot race at a very close play. That if Barton had been called safe, I don't know. Well, there'd been an argument, but this is how close it is, and just barely. That's a different angle, which shows that Richards got him by plenty.
So one out, Coco in scoring position. Here's Donaldson. Donaldson hitting .301 with 23 home runs and 88 runs batted in. Swing and a miss. As Ray mentioned, Richards has a pretty good fastball. That one at 95 miles an hour.
We saw the standings in the West, and he was done well. Remember at the beginning of the season we talked about all the games that teams will be playing against the Astros. Now the Astros might affect the division. The West, well, I think the Angels will look at their games early in the season, especially at home, that they did not play particularly well against the Astros in Anaheim. Games that probably should have won.
The Astros swept them in Anaheim in one series, if I remember correctly.
Right. Another one, it took a bottom of the ninth walk-off. I think it was a Pujols double down the left field line, scoring Trout from first to avoid maybe even another sweep.
Yeah, the Angels are done with the Astros, and they finished 9-10.
Look at the Rangers and the A's against the Astros, and it might be the biggest difference so far in the division.
The Baltimore Orioles just got a big win. They beat the Red Sox 3-2 at Fenway. Baltimore has been kind of stuck in neutral last couple weeks. They needed a win tonight, and they got one. 0-2 pitch curveball, and Donaldson takes it. Big series in Kansas City. The Royals are leading the Indians 3-1 in the 7th inning. Brandon Moss waits in the on-deck circle. A scoring opportunity for the A's here in the first. Curve, and that's called strike 3. Big breaker. So that's the second out. Not a lot you can do as a hitter.
It's called an overhand yellow hammer and buckled the knees of Donaldson at that point. No chance to pull the trigger. That's an A.J. Griffin type curveball, especially when you get a hitter to commit like that with the knees buckling. That's a no chance for a hitter.
And that was a great shot there. When it crossed over the uniform of Donaldson, it was at the letters. But when the catcher caught it, it was down. That shows how much. I guess it shows how much a ball can still break from the time it goes past the hitter to the time the catcher catches it. I mean, that's at the letters, and then it's down around the knee. So it may have been a little bit high.
Well, it's coming down quickly as it is crossing it. You always have to, and I'm able to see with the side shot just how far the catcher is behind home plate.
Moss pops it up.
That's why we always say about the importance of an umpire calling the ball where it crosses a plate, not necessarily where a catcher catches it, because he might catch a ball that's close to the ground, but when it crosses the plate, especially a curveball, splitter, changeup, a lot of different pitches could cross the plate as a strike, catcher catching it out of the strike zone. Josh will remember that curveball. He may go up and sit on it the next time.
Moss, 27 home runs and 77 RBIs. And he rifles one to right field. Going back is Calhoun. He dives. He can't get it. It bounces over the wall, and it'll be a double, and it'll be an RBI, and this game is tied at 1. Calhoun made a heck of an effort. Could not quite get it.
Calhoun's lucky the ball bounced over the fence, because with his headlong dive, he committed, and Moss would have had a triple. But watch this swing. There's a harder curveball than Brandon Moss. You talk about somebody all over a breaking pitch. That is an extremely strong swing, and came up with a bullet to right field. And it hit the warning track and, of course, over the fence. And Calhoun, give him credit, after he had the great effort, came up quickly to play the carry off the wall, which never occurred. But what a great shot by Brandon Moss in a 2-out situation.
So Moss gets 70, RBI number 78, and here's Cespedes. And this one's popped up just to our right.
That's tremendous effort. I thought he had no chance. That's how close he came to making a spectacular catch, but the ball was hooking. But I think Brandon Moss hit it so hard he didn't hook as much as I thought initially, especially with the curveball, the harder curve that he got.
To Cespedes. Cespedes got an MRI in his right shoulder, and the MRI showed some tendonitis, which can be painful, but no tear, no structural damage, so that's good news. But he may be DHing for a handful of games.
That's fine. Yeah, he's had plenty of outfielders. That's what makes it nice. It's just that another player will not be able to DH because they want to keep him in the lineup.
That one's hit hard right at Romine at third. He throws in time. Side retired. Moss with a 2-out RBI double. So we're headed to the second inning, all tied at 1.
21st, specialty beers will be available to fans 21 and over throughout the Coliseum. 10,000 fans will receive an Oktoberfest Stein courtesy of Sogs. German-themed entertainment will take place throughout the game. You can purchase a special field-level ticket package that includes a Brewmaster meet and greet and ceramic Stein. Visit OaklandAthletics.com/Oktoberfest. And it's Steiny's going to be here, because every time I read that, I think of Terry Steinbach and Steiny Man. The Steinman will be here with the Twins over the weekend.
It fits.
It fits perfectly for Brewmaster meet and greet. Terry Steinman. Steiny won't be meeting and greeting. He'll be on the bench with Ron Gardner.
Cole Calhoun to lead it off. There you go.
Meet and greet early.
I believe that's called double fisting.
That's right.
1-1 to Calhoun.
And I believe that's a curveball that's necessary for Sonny Gray to throw to be successful. He's got such a great curveball, and really it's a type of pitch that a lot of hitters, first of all, won't swing at, and if they do, it's tough to hit them. It is again, and that's a good one.
So 1-2 to Calhoun. Had 3 hits and 3 RBIs last night, so he was tough on the A's. Hit 307 on the year. Fastball just a bit inside. Didn't miss by much.
That's Gary Darling, and Gary Darling didn't like it. It was just off the plate, I guess.
And that one was close.
A lot closer than the other one. Definitely fooled the hitter. And I mean, if it's a ball off the plate, that's a strike. And it's a lot of times what the umpires are giving.
3-2 to Calhoun. And he chops one slowly toward Callaspo. And that's out number 1. So that'll bring up the switch hitter Eric Aybar.
Batting in the 7th position, shortstop.
That dirty
number 2,
uniform and arms,
Eric
that's on the warning track.
Aybar.
That's not dirt. I mean, or grass. That's warning track kind of gravel. That'd eat up your arms too. It's all right. He's a youngster and does not feel a thing.
Yeah, he's saying, you know what? This is my month to show the Angels that I'm a big leaguer. Aybar hitting .268, 6 home runs, 53 runs batted in. He was 1 for 4 last night. His one hit was a triple.
Played with the head groundskeeper for the A's, confirmed what we were talking about, the quickness in the outfield. And he said it has to be, and it's going to be that way just because of not just the plywood, but he informed me that it's just as much the huge cranes that are removing and applying the bleachers. They were on the outfield for 5 days, getting ready for the football game, and then removed. So he said it's the plywood is down to the bleachers are positioned, but getting them in the big trucks and tractors to do it. Nothing he could do about it, especially for last night's game. At least today, he said they had a chance to put more water in the outfield and the infield and kind of soften it a little bit. Good curveball. See the 12-6, and the ball bounced off the catcher's mitt. Man, that hit everybody. That might have got all 3. There's the ball, and it missed Aybar, but he got him up underneath, and that's why the umpires and catchers kind of.
There's a shot right up the middle of base hit. A fastball that was kind of up out over the plate, and Aybar has a hit.
You see a catcher and umpire get hit underneath. That means they're not tucking their chin down. You're right. Location. You want it down, it's up, and this is Aybar especially there. Just get on top of a ball and drive it up the middle of the opposite field.
So Aybar is aboard. Chris Iannetta will step in.
The extension on Gary Darling's mask, and just like to see him tuck it in a little bit more so the mask absorbs the ball that comes down off the ground and back up underneath.
Iannetta, American League Player of the Week last week.
He has 5 more hits than he does walks. Those are his totals.
Breaking ball, swing and a miss, and it's 0-2.
One of the original Angels, Roger Repo. He's the one who had more walks than hits. It's a good break ball, good curve ball. Roger he might have been with Bill Wrigley. Rigged to over. Gosi, Dean Chance.
Sounds like a 1961 lineup. First year of the.
Sounds like a big chore for Bill Wrigley, the manager. Some of those guys.
1961.
Bo Belinsky, Dean Chance.
They were pretty good though, right off the bat.
They were great.
Angels, one of the better expansion teams as far as record-wise, and I think their second year they had a pretty darn good record. And that one on the inside, corner strike 3 call. Second strikeout for Sonny Gray, and that's 2 outs here in the second inning.
Well, this one on the inside corner, this one Gary Darling liked. To the left-handed hitter. Sees again that had more of the plate, but it's inside, and Iannetta just could not pull the trigger. Very, very difficult for a hitter with a good location of a fastball inside.
So here's Andrew Romine, the switch hitting third baseman.
I like the way Derek Barton applies the tag quickly and hard. That would discourage sometimes a base runner from even thinking about it. Gets the throw, the tag quickly. Alomar just barely got back, got him on the shoulder with his hand on the bat.
First pitch to Romine is high. The Indians tied up the Royals in the top of the 7th inning. That's a 3-3 game now with the Royals batting in the bottom of the 7th. Couple hits last night for Romine. It's this one foul, so the count 1-1. So Mike Trout with a home run in the first inning for the Angels. Brandon Moss with an RBI double in the bottom of the first.
The halo, the cap, the jerseys. That's right.
It's the original hat. I like that. A little inside. Never know. Ibar certainly a threat to go, and this would be a bad situation to take off. He's got 11 steals, which is low for him.
As you mentioned, the Angels did not, at least in the early part of the season, run as much. They, of course, go first and third, one of the specialties. Stealing bases also was one of them.
Inside again, 3-1. And the pitch is not missing by a lot, but Gary Darling really has not called it tonight, even though it's only the second inning, but he has not wavered on that call in the early going.
Almost tempted to go away from it because Sonny Gray does not throw the 2-seam fastball as we have seen with Bartolo Colon using the inside and buckling the knees of the hitters. It's just a 4-seam straight. And a good one.
She made a nice play.
He's not thrown a curveball in this at bat to this left-hander. And we're not expecting to do it on 3-2.
Runner goes, and the ball's bounced slowly to Barton, who charges. He'll take it himself. Side retired. Hitting a runner left. Bottom of the second coming up. It'll be Reddick, Hyaspo, and Vogt, and it's a 1-1 game. Is brought to you by Cache Creek Casino Resort. Cache Creek's Challenger Slot Tournaments, free entry daily from 2 p.m. till 10 p.m. Visit cachecreek.com for details. First pitch to Reddick is a bit outside. 1-1 game, bottom of the second. Reddick got an off-speed pitcher. 95 miles an hour, but looks like it had a little wrinkle to it. Either way, he fouled it back.
Well, he has movement, and that's one of the problems that Sonny Gray has a pitch that at times will move, but Garrett Richards also, from my standpoint, can get some movement on pitches that kind of sinking away, but good velocity.
So good velocity, averaging 94, nearly 95 miles an hour, and that's average. It's hit hard. Kendrick slides to his right and makes the play, and that's out number 1. So Callaspo will hit against his old team. Tigers are winning 6-2 over the Mariners. That game in the top of the 9th in Detroit. So Tigers closing in on their 88th win of the year, and keeping an eye on the Tigers as well. And the Tigers in the mix with the Red Sox for the best record in the American League. Red Sox lost tonight. They have 92 wins. Pitcher's going to have to get over there. Kendrick's going to have to hit a moving target. He does, and that's out number 2. So the best records, the Red Sox with their loss tonight, 92-60. So the Red Sox have a 3-game lead over the A's. Again, this is for the best record, and they have a 3.5-game lead over the Tigers. So the A's and Tigers battling for what would be the second best record. Best record, that's where home field advantage comes in.
And if you have the overall best record, that's where you're playing the wild card.
That's right. So there's a lot of ramifications with the order of best records.
I think over the years, you can never say you'd rather play one team or the other, and
too hard to tell.
In 2006, the A's were hopeful of playing the Tigers in the division series because the Twins were so hot, especially with Santana and Liriano at the top of the rotation. That didn't happen. The A's swept the Twins, but were swept by the Tigers, the team that they thought they maybe had a better chance of beating. Just didn't work out.
Yeah, if you spend too much time trying to figure it out, you're probably wasting too much time. Right. And this year, as you talked a lot about, Ray, and I agree with you, the wild card games will be played one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, but the division series doesn't start till Friday.
Right.
So if you are not a wild card team, you're going to finish your regular season on Sunday, and this is in the American League, and you will not play again till Friday.
Yep.
That's a long time.
Which is the same 4-day All-Star break that teams got this year. Finish on Sunday, start on Monday, or the following Friday. So 4 days off is the long time. But I think they'd rather start the Friday or Saturday in the National League with the 5-game division series instead of that middle of the week and trying just to get to that point.
So the National League wild card game is Tuesday. The American League wild card game is Wednesday. Is that right?
I thought it was Wednesday, Thursday, because the National League division series starts on Saturday. So it's one of those. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think it's listed, and we'll find out between innings.
Vogt flies out, 3 up, 3 down inning, and it's a 1-1 game after 2.
13 postseason rights. Just place a deposit on a 2014 A's ticket plan and secure your place in line for 2013 playoff tickets. For more information, call 510-638-GO-A's or go to oaklandathletics.com/deposit it. And the boys in the ticket office, Steve Finella, said they're selling a whole bunch. It's like 50,000 a day or something that were sold. So the tickets are going, but still get in line for those postseason tickets. And if you were correct, it's Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yep.
The wild card for the National League on Tuesday, American League Wednesday, and the division. For some reason, I thought the division started Friday and Saturday. But you're right, it's Thursday and Friday. Thursday for the National League, Friday for the American League, the division series. And then the American League is going to be 4 days off from Sunday to Friday for the division participants.
So if there's any tiebreakers that need to be played, they will be played on the Monday, right after the day after the regular season ends. Top of the order for the Angels. Chuck Kendrick Trout won one game. Chuck bounced out to Barton, leading off the ball game. And now it's 3-0. Couple of strikeouts for Sonny Gray. He's allowed 3 hits in the first 2 innings. And that one on the outside corner for a strike. Just a bit high, and Shuck works the walk. Well, that's the first walk issued by Sonny Gray.
And the fastball is up, and you see most of them down in the zone.
Kendrick.
I remember last night a hit and run was put on by the Angels with Howie Kendrick taking the inside fastball and shooting it to right field with Kai Aspo, who was the second again tonight cover, opening up the right side of the infield.
First pitch is a ball. So no reason to think they wouldn't try it again.
The thing is, it's the normal game style of the Angels. Getting behind the runners, they hit and run, even straight steal.
Trout in the on-deck circle, and then it would be Hamilton. One pitch is popped up. Barton, a long run, may have a play. No.
Once again, the ball slicing into the stands on the right side off the right-hander's bat. Left-handers aren't as lucky down on the third base line.
Coco Crisp slid over toward right center. Looks like Moss off the line, some in left. And that's a good curveball from Gray.
I don't think there's many hitters that can hit this curveball. When it's thrown this sharply and this breaking that well, that's not an easy curveball. It's going to buckle the knees. It's just going to come in very hard over the top. And many hitters can hit a good curveball like that.
And there it is again. And this time Kendrick lays off as it was down and away. Curveball, a very good pitch for Sonny Gray. Chuck not running, and It's a swing and a miss. Strikeout number 3 for Gray. So more on the Sonny Gray curveball. Interesting. Opponent's batting average against the curveball for Gray, 105. The major league average is 214. And then you work your way down the list and you see what we're trying to tell you, that it's a terrific pitch.
Because it's abnormal. Pitchers just aren't blessed to be able to throw a curveball like that. Again, A.J. Griffin's going to pitch tomorrow. It's a similar 12-6, but it's a slower variety. The hardness in which Sonny Gray throws it, that's what makes it difficult for hitters anyway.
Trout takes a strike. The Indians have scored a run in the top of the 8th, and they now lead the Royals 4-3 going to the bottom of the 8th. How about that? 25 homers, 30 doubles, or 30 stolen bases, excuse me, and 100 walks.
And just throw that also, he's 21.
He is terrific.
And he is just beginning. Yeah, you mentioned the payroll for the Angels and what they've committed in the future.
Yeah.
They haven't even signed this kid. They renewed his contract, which he puts together 3 years. They may be forced after this year to bring up the Brinks truck and say, you know, let's lock him up, because if he gets to arbitration, I wouldn't even think about free agency, but even arbitration, he'll get one of the biggest increases in the history of the game. First inning, fastball, a little bit away. Forget it. Sounded just like it was hit last night, although this one didn't come close to breaking one of the sweet glasses in the lower suites.
Curve and a good one, 2-2.
I'd throw it again and again and again. I mean, he's proven he can hit a fastball, whether it's Figueroa lefty last night or Sonny Gray in his first at bat. Not surprising, as this is a second strike, why swing at it?
Shuck the runner at first. Hamilton in the on-deck circle. 2-2 pitch is tapped down the third base line to foul. Well, the Angels don't have a huge amount of money coming off the books either. Sometimes that helps. You have free agents making a lot of money, but their free agents are Vargas, Scott Downs, and remember Ryan Madson. Madson signed a free agent contract. He has not pitched at all for them. So they have 3 pitchers coming off the books.
I would think Vernon Wells' contract, which goes through next year, there's got to be something in that. The Angels, I don't know exactly what the circumstances are, but I don't know if the Yankees would have absorbed the rest of his contract, which has been this year and next, $20+ million. He's locked up for 4 more after this year. Josh Hamilton, Pujols 8 more years.
Pitch is inside, so full count to Trout. See if Shuck takes off with 1 out. Just trickles away from Barton, but not far enough for Shuck to go anywhere.
You're a first baseman, you have to be alert, because Sonny Gray does not hold anything back when he's throwing to first. And I don't know if Shuck is going to think about going to second. He did slip a little bit as he took off, so on the top of the bag, which, as we have talked about, are very slippery. That is a close throw from the pitcher's not on the first base.
Shuck runs, and the ball is looped to shallow right center. Coco coming in, and Coco will get there, and he's got it. And that's the second out. So it hung up. Coco generally plays fairly deep, but it just hung up.
Now batting, number 32, Josh Hamilton.
So here's Hamilton now with 2 outs.
So the 3-2 curveball, Shuck was running and might have been just a little bit off the plate, but as it approached the plate, it was in the strike zone, then broke away a little bit and close enough that Trot felt he had to swing. The scary part was how hard was it going to be hit. Hard enough that Coco could recover after breaking back.
First pitch to Hamilton is rolled foul. First pitch curveball. Hamilton had a base hit to left field in the first inning. He was 1 for 4 last night. Scored a run, knocked in a run.
Drove in the biggest run of the game. The first one. He was on a first pitch fastball with 2 outs, and after that he got a lot of off-speed pitches.
What a surprise, huh? Shuck still the runner at first. And there's a strike. Fastball, well placed.
That's the key. Well placed outside corner as Hamilton had opened up just a little bit. Looking for the pitch on the inner side and half the plate.
Tried to go outside again with a fastball, missed up and away. 58 pitches for Gray, so he's thrown a lot of pitches in the first 3 innings. Flipped to left field. Moss moving over, and he's got it side retired. So leadoff walk does no damage. Bottom of the 3rd coming up. It's a 1-1 game.
With the pennant races and catch the rest of the 2013 season in HD quality. Watch every out-of-market game live on more than 350 mobile and connected devices. Visit MLB.tv today.
Having fun at the ballpark on a Tuesday night. Day game tomorrow. And we'll have it for you right here in Comcast Sportsnet California. A's pregame live starts at noon. First pitch 12:35, so day baseball tomorrow. Sogard, Crisp, and Barton for the A's here in the bottom of the third. Sogard rips one toward left center, but it's going to hang up for Hamilton. He reaches up, makes the catch, and that's out number 1.
Too much speed in the outfield, and most outfields for a fly ball to be hit like that. You need the line drive, something that Sogard works on every day. Just got a little bit too much under.
Now batting center fielder, number 4.
More so in Borges at center with Trot on left and Hamilton on right, or Calhoun and right. There's a lot of speed. A's have a lot of speed in their outfield, so it's a matter of trying to hit line drives.
So Coco steps in. He walked and scored in the first. We saw Mike Trout in left field earlier this year, and he's still a very good left fielder, but he did not look quite as comfortable as he does in center field, and it was noticeable.
And there was a lot of discussion in the early part of the season that maybe he was upset, but it wasn't as if it was something new, because like you said, last year it was Borges. At least if Trout started the game in center, Borges came in defense. Later it was usually Trout moving to left field.
And I'm sure if he would have played left field the whole year, he would have.
Of course, yeah. Absolutely, but he's not a bad person to put in center field either.
Here he comes, and he will get there, and he makes the catch. 2 outs. But we saw Cespedes
now batting first baseman,
move over to left field and did not look real comfortable early on, and now he has become a very good left fielder.
He played center field for the Cuban national team, and so when he came here, it was, I guess, the A's wanted to put him in center field. Coco moved to left, and they flip-flopped, and it's worked out well since.
Barton, a big chopper. Kendrick backs up for a good hop, and Richards has retired 7 in a row. So we're moving to the 4th inning, and we're tied at 1. Trout has a .436 on base percentage. That's right, .436, which would set a new Angels record. What two players hold that record at .429 back in 1995? .436 on base percentage for Trout. He's walked 100 times. He's got 184 hits. Top of the 4th inning. First pitch to Trumbo is a bit low. Trumbo, Calhoun, Ibar for the Angels. Michael Bourne has just homered for the Indians, so the Indians now lead the Royals 5-3 in the top of the 9th inning. Curveball and a good one. Gray has a good curveball tonight.
12-6, and probably more of the 12-6 curveball tonight than what we've seen in previous starts, especially at Target Field on his last one.
Trumbo got a fastball to hit, and he fouled it back.
I wonder if Sonny Gray's going to look for a 10-run 4th inning as he did in Minnesota.
He would settle for half of it.
Might be a little harder tonight.
Nice pick by Donaldson. Throws, and the throw gets off of Barton's glove, and Trumbo's going to be aboard.
It looked like Barton was trying to take the ball that was tailing away from him, try to make the quick catch in the tag. But nice play, and surprisingly, the throw offline, and Derek Barton with the runner coming down on him. It just looked like ball.
Now batting, number 56.
Threw a sinker to it.
Calhoun.
Right there is just simply trying to reach out and make the catch with the big man coming down the line. That's a collision.
Yeah.
You don't want to have.
How could you not maybe take a peek, huh? So it goes as an E5. Leadoff man aboard. Here's Calhoun. Second error in the series for the Athletics.
It says a lot when you go on a road trip, which the A's did, a 6-game trip, to come home 5-1, no errors. Good pitching. The Twins down after losing 1 game, and even more so against the Rangers over the weekend.
Close pitch, call the ball. 2-0 to Calhoun. That would hit off Sonny Gray toward Barton, who throws to first, and they got him. So Barton hung with it, and they get a big out at first base.
And they're going to check on the young pitcher. This ball is hit very hard off of him somewhere. And Barton must look like he wanted to go to second, but what a great recovery to make the quick throw off balance to first base. Because we all know what happens if the throw's offline. What a great play by both. Sonny Gray covering after being hit, getting his foot on the bag, and the throw from Barton. Maybe he got it on his foot. See if he tried to do a kick save. Yep.
Yes, he did.
Kick save with the left foot. So evidently got him on the side, maybe
Now batting, number 2.
down in the lower
Eric
part and not in the ankle
Aybar.
area for it to go that far off him. But fortunately, I mean, that's a base hit first to third, maybe up the middle, but the kick save, which we see, and fortunately hit off the shoe, didn't hurt it.
So here's Aybar. Trumbo at second. Trumbo does not have a whole lot of speed.
So that's a 1-3-1, right? Don't see many of those. It's unfortunate to make the play.
So you take one off the foot, and then you have to cover first. Strike, 1-1 to Aybar, who had a base hit in the second inning.
A good low fastball. He's getting the ball down. He elevated the fastball to Aybar's last at bat. It was a single to center.
Good pitch there. That one did have a little tail to it. Caught the inside corner, 1-2.
Throw that at 93, which this pitch is, and get the little movement. Get the hitter to raise his hands. That's an automatic. He's not going to swing the bat when he does that.
snaps inside to even the count. And that pitch looked like Ibar was a little bit fooled. He was able to hold up. And he went around, says Chris Conroy, and that's strikeout number 4. And that's a big one. Ibar has not left the batter's box just yet.
Well, we're going to get to see what Chris Conroy saw for him to make the call. It looked like initially when he swung as a curveball, he's fooled that he went around. That's too much. That's a swing. He brought the head of the bat back, but it went too far forward. Definitely fooled on a good curveball, right over the top, and Chris Conroy saw the bat cross the plate, and that usually, from what umpires have said, is the determining factor.
2 outs for Iannetta. Inside corner call to strike. Iannetta struck out looking in the second inning, one of the 4 strikeouts for Gray. That game in Kansas City now going to the bottom of the 9th inning with the Royals trailing the Indians 5-3. Close pitch low. Curse Perez is on for the Indians. He does have a history of making it interesting. Not saying he doesn't get the job done, but he will make it interesting.
I don't think he will get the nickname pack and a half as Don Stanhill's got with Earl Weaver. I don't think Terry Francona is going to go that far, but I'd like to have an easy ninth.
Iannetta checks his swing. It's inside. So 3-1 with Andrew Romine in the on-deck circle.
It's a high fastball, and surprised it was not called because it did not look like to be inside. I guess Garrett Darling thought it was too much up and out of the strike zone.
And that one looped to right field. Coming on is Reddick. He's got it, side retired. Bottom of the 4th coming up. It'll be Donaldson, Moss, and Cespedes. We're tied at 1. Comcast Sportsnet California is brought to you by GoPro, the world's most versatile camera. GoPro, be a hero. One. It's the bottom of the fourth inning from the Coliseum. A little early Bernie from that youngster, trying to get the A's a couple of runs. Garrett Richards off to a good start. He's retired 7 in a row. He's got a run in the first on a 2-out double by Moss. Donaldson bounces one into right field for a leadoff single. Donaldson has hit number 163 on the year.
And another solid hit to the right side. And got the fastball up and away from him. And he struck out on a very slow curveball from this right-hander in his first at bat, but not this time.
49 hits to right field. Not too shabby. Especially for a guy who's got 23 home runs.
Right.
First pitch to Moss is low. So Chris Perez did indeed have a 3-up, 3-down inning, just like we predicted he would, right?
But Terry Francona was hopeful.
Oh, yes.
What happened?
So Indians win 5-3. They were trailing 3-1 in that game. Scored a handful of runs late. So a big win for the Indians. Moss hits it hard right at second. Flip to short and kind of a changeup flip to short. And that's the only out that was recorded.
That's a long way to flip. I think the ball ate up Kendrick. And
Number 52.
you're that far away, you kind of need to turn to the side and throw, not flip with the backhand. There's no way it's going to be a double play. And as hard as the ball was hit, probably we're thinking that would be. And if he turned at least through to second, the conventional, which we kind of turn to his right and throw the ball overhand, might have been a double play or much closer, at least a throw. But Ibar could barely just catch the ball.
Here's Cespedes. Curve in for a strike to Cespedes, who bounced out to third in the first inning. Way out of the strike zone. Cespedes missed it. 0-2.
You get some ahs from the fans on a swing and a pitch that's in the dirt, but you know, a pitcher who throws the ball 94, 95 miles per hour, and a hitter is geared for a pitch which is normally the fastball. It's surprising to see him swing at a pitch that, even though it's not even close to the strike zone.
And a curve, and that will hit to the backstop. Updated wild card standings. All these teams are now finished playing. The Rangers beat the Rays, so they are tied at the 2 top spots. Indians win, Orioles win, Royals lose, Yankees lose. So there you go. So the Indians remain just a half game out of that second wild card spot with their win. Another 0-2 pitch. That one's foul back.
Talked about the attendances last night, and you'd like to think the whole idea of the second wild card was keep a lot of interest from a lot of different teams late in the season.
Yep.
And I would say when you're within 2 weeks, you have that big of a group of teams that are close for a wild card spot. I think that the attendances would be greater.
You would think.
Bigger crowd tonight than last night here. Expected to get bigger as the week progresses.
Curve, and it spins Cespedes out of the way.
the Donaldson curveball that broke into the strike zone, and it seemed like Cespedes waited a long time before he finally decided to get out of the way. And if he knows he has the big break, he might wait longer. That time he did, and it almost hit him.
And he chased again, and that's the strikeout. Richards second in the game. So 2 outs here in the 4th inning.
Well, Iannetta wanted it down. He got it down and blocked it to keep it from going between his legs with the slider in the dirt. That's the proper technique. Turn your catcher's mitt with the palm up, jam it into the ground, and you caught it, but blocking it just as well.
So here's Reddick, who bounced out to second his first at bat. And bounces this one toward Trumbo, who grabs it, but he's in foul territory. Ball was flipped toward the stands, but came back out onto the field. So 0-1 to Reddick. Reddick was 0 for 4 last night. Not close. Trumbo playing out in front of the bag and off the bag.
That's usually what they do with left-handed pitchers, something that Mike Scioscia started with his first baseman, but with lefties, that is to be able to get off the bag, cut up some of the area between first and where the second baseman is playing. Makes it, I've always thought, a little difficult for a pitcher to throw to a moving target. The first baseman going back to the bag, and that's a critical throw, especially with the foul territory here at the Coliseum.
Well, you're not going to pick anybody off, but quite frankly, how often do you pick somebody off? I mean,
you got to be seriously leaning towards second or be heading to second.
In this case, Trumbo is saying it's more important for me to cover a little extra ground.
Always thought too, a runner can get a bigger lead and maybe take off with a bigger jump because of that.
Drill to center, and that's a hit.
And that's the type of hit you want to see. A line drive, so Trout, even with his great speed, cannot catch up to it.
So 2 on and 2 out here in the 4th.
Hanging curveball, and Josh Reddick right on top, stayed back, loaded up, and extended the arm to drop the ball to straightaway center. And if you're a hitter, that's where you want the hanging curveball. You want the curveball thrown. As a pitcher, it is a hanger, and you want to get it down so he either misses or hits on top and hits a ground ball.
So the A's need a 2-out hit from Alberto Callaspo against his former team. And that one backhanded nicely by Iannetta.
He's outside, the pitch is inside. All he can do is backhand it. No chance to get his body in front of it. Hamilton shallow left field, which is probably a good idea. Consider Callaspo, if he hits the ball to left field, it's out of he hit hard enough to go over his head. So Moss can get the big jump off second.
Strike called on the outside corner to even the count at 1-1. Cayaspo's got the sweet-looking bat going, huh, Ray? Check that out. That's nice.
It's more like a trophy than a bat. So many different styles, but that's the first I've ever seen of that one. It's like a leg on a very good dining room table.
It's not the old S2 that you used to use?
Oh, no.
Yeah, we have not seen that. That's a new one.
No, Steve Vucinich, the A's equipment manager, all the hitters have to do is say, Vuce, I want this style, model, length, weight, and the finish. Well, Cayaspo got it all.
And more.
Yeah.
2-2 pitch. And he missed, and now a full count. Moss at second, Reddick at first. They will take off on the pitch, and the crowd getting a little bit riled up.
Another left in the on-deck circle. He could throw him a good curveball. Is he going to challenge him? Or the cutter?
And he went with a breaking ball, and he got him. Iannetta tags Cayaspo, so on a 3-2 pitch, curveball from Richards strikes out Cayaspo. A's strand a pair in the fourth. .436 on base percentage this year. That would set a new Angels record. What two players hold the record at .429? They did it in 1995. Oh, Chili Davis and Tim Salmon. Should have known. Chili. He had a couple stints with the Angels, right? I know he left the Giants and signed a free agent contract with the Angels, and then back to the Angels
after Minnesota.
After Minnesota, that's right. Trout's got a chance to get into the record books. First pitch to Romine is a strike.
I think Sonny Gray would like to pitch this fifth without having to go into the stretch, because he has been in the stretch the first 4 innings. Are they going to appeal or just assume it's a strike? Call it a ball. See, that's anytime there's a check swing, and actually Sonny Gray pointed to third base, but I don't think Chris Conroy has ever asked to give his opinion. Always ask. You never know what's going to happen.
Fastball is high. 2-1 to Romine, who grounded out in the second inning. And that one hit up the middle, and Sonny Gray tried the kick save again and could not do it that time. And you watch Sonny Gray, he really falls off a long ways toward the first base side of the mound after his delivery, and he kind of does this every time. I mean, look where he ends up. He is way to the first base side.
And that ball was the first base side of the mound, or at least to the pitching slab, but you fall that far. He's kind of set up that way, and of course we'll go out of the stretch again.
So for the third inning in a row, the Angels have their leadoff man aboard. And here's Shuck. Thinking about the Angels, right? Callaspo was their third baseman for the last couple of years, and then was traded over to the A's. I got to believe that they're going to go out and look for a third baseman in the offseason. You would think.
You mentioned last night Romine was a shortstop, moved to third, but they have their power at first base, whether it's Pujols or Trumbo, and do not know when Pujols comes back if he's going to go back to first base where he's been a Gold Glover or DH.
Shuck pops it up to shallow right, and that's taken care of by Callaspo.
But you like to have the power at the corners, and the Angels, of course, even with Callaspo, didn't have a lot of power that you expect to get from a position.
Kendrick.
But they make up for it. Their center fielder, at least right now, with Trout in center.
Here's Kendrick. Kendrick has struck out twice, both times swinging. Also been a fair amount of talk. The Angels really want to try to improve their pitching staff in the offseason, and their best trade chip is this guy, Howie Kendrick. The guys with real long-term contracts are probably not tradable. Pujols and Hamilton. Not going to trade Trout. They're not going to trade Trumbo. Kendrick, you could probably get a decent return for if you were looking for maybe some starting pitching. Trout in the on-deck circle.
But Derek Barton was a catcher because he was accustomed to having pitches thrown hard as a catcher, because he's getting a lot from Sonny Gray playing first base. At least he hopes it's a four-seam fastball every time he gets one. Unlike as a catcher, you get different types of pitches. Derek has turned himself into an outstanding first baseman defensively.
Tries to hold up, and
Stephen, you have to ask. I mean, that's twice already in this inning that have been check swings and no appeal to the base. That's a swing, but yet no appeal. Got to do it, especially on a pitch like that.
So 1-1. Close again at first. Pitch number 85 for Sonny Gray. And it's a good one, 1-2.
Well, the curveball is not left him. Maybe the location of his fastball, and as a result, his pitch count is getting high. In fact, they only pitched 5 innings in his last start. Got an extra day's rest because of the illness to Jared Parker, and it's had a great move from last night to tonight.
Looks like there's a little mustache going there already.
Yeah, that's a starting pitcher thing.
It's getting there.
Don't want to ask how long it's been growing either. Saw with Jared Parker last night.
And that one is looped into center field, a base hit. Romine digging for third, and he's going to make it. And Howie Kendrick just went down and golfed one into center field. So hit number 5 off Sonny Gray.
Check swing is looking big, isn't it?
Yep.
Because that would have been strike 2, and that would have been 0-2 versus 1-2. Still a very good job of hitting by Kendrick. And there's your first to third with no hesitation of the runner going from first to third.
So here's Trout with Hamilton in the on deck circle. Trout a home run and a fly ball to center field. It has been hard work tonight for Sonny Gray. Look at that number. May have to look long and hard for a bad statistic on Mike Trout.
Well, the A's are playing back for double play, and talk about a hard hitter to double up. I mean, this has to be a very hard hit ball on the ground to without an infielder having to move, and preferably up the middle where it'd be a little flip from Sogard to Callispo and try to complete the double play. Strikeout, pop up. You're looking for a lot of things instead of having put the ball in play.
Fastball foul back. So now Gray's ahead in the count.
Just think what's going to happen when this young man matures.
Figures it all out.
Incredible.
Chokes up just a little bit. Fastball, swing and a miss. Trout chased, and that's a huge strikeout.
That is the biggest out of the game because he did kind of the impossible. You're hoping for a strikeout, so he does not put the ball in play. He overthrew a pitch. It was supposed to be down and in. It was up and away. So a mistake that worked out. Close enough that Trout maybe had to swing similar to his last at bat. Would have got a curveball that was hit softly to center field, but close enough to the plate that he swung. So by not putting the ball in play, that is huge. If now you can get another tough hitter out. He is human.
Yep.
And does make him human.
Hamilton, I could get a pretty good look at that first pitch curveball, and he fouls it back.
That's a great Mariano Rivera's comment a couple of years ago when he blew a save and everybody was all over him. He said, fellas, I do have blood in my veins.
Yep.
I am human. And everybody that plays this game is human. And you just expect so much, as everybody does from certain hitters, but they're human as well. Great pitch by Sonny Gray to get a big out.
And Hamilton checks his swing, and he went around, says Chris Conroy, and the count is 0-2.
Well, that's a swing because he almost did fall down, and he brought it back so Conroy could see a better look at it.
Fastball is hit in the air to left center, and it's going to be Moss who goes back near the warning track. He's got it side retired. So Sonny Gray pitches out of a jam, and the Angels do not score.
games are on sale now. Tickets will be available online at oaklandathletics.com/postseason or with the phone 877-493-BALL and at O.co Coliseum box office. Potential tiebreaker, American League Division Series games. No tie. That's just the ALDS. No tiebreaker.
First pitch to Vogt is a bit high. So Sonny Gray is danced around a little bit tonight, made the big pitches he's had to. Kept this a 1-1 game, bottom of the 5th inning.
He can look back at this game and say the biggest pitch he's made all night was to Mike Trout. You have first and third because the Angels will go first and third as much as anybody. It's a good take by Stephen Vogt. 2-0. Richards started the at bat. It's not a particularly great pitch to be swinging at 2-0 anyway, but he wanted to make sure he took a strike.
Takes a rip that time, and now it's a 2-2 count. Vogt hit a fly ball to left field to end the 2nd inning. 1 walk, 3 strikeouts so far for Richards. And pitch number 62 coming up. And a curveball and a swing and a miss. So that's strikeout number 4.
Well, a couple of pitches tonight with good curveballs. That's a good 12-6 curveball thrown by Richards, and see what Sonny Gray has been doing.
So both these guys, they both have very good fastball, 94, 95 miles an hour, but you would probably have to say that their best pitch is the breaking ball.
And although Richards has, he'll throw a slider that we've seen a little bit. Usually if a pitcher has a good curveball, will not throw a lot of sliders, and vice versa.
So 1 out, here's Sogard.
And the Richard pitched against the A's back in late July. 5 innings of shutout baseball. Didn't throw a lot of pitches, just getting into rotation. A's won the game late, but he left with a 1-0 lead and has been pitching well in the rotation and might have found a home for him.
He's won his last 3 starts. He's beat the Rays, he's beat the Rangers, he's beat the Blue Jays. Three and 0 to Sogard. Sogard hit a fly ball to left field his first at bat, and that pitch is high, and it's a 4-pitch walk.
There it is, and he has pitched just a couple of home runs loud.
And only 5 earned runs allowed in the 18 2/3 innings. So for Garrett Richards, this is a big month of September. We have a couple more starts left after tonight. In fact, the Angels have an off day on Thursday. They'll host the Mariners this weekend, but with that off day, it's very possible the A's would see Garrett Richards again next week in Anaheim, where these two teams will play Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We'll go reach for it a little bit. The crowd tonight announced at 18,771, 18771. Last night, over 14,000. Strike in the inside corner, 0-2. Coco tilts his head back in disbelief.
Well, again, a hard curve inside part of the plate, and Again, where Ionetta caught it, looked like it was off the plate. Coco maybe didn't think it caught the inside part of the plate.
Coco behind in the count 0-2 with Sogard at first. And there's the breaking ball again, and that is strikeout number 5. This looks like Toure throws it at a couple different speeds.
Yep, and there's the slower variety, but the location is exactly where he wanted it, and that would be down. In the case of Coco swinging at it, slower and too close to take. You're right about next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It would be scheduled Richards, Vargas, and then Weaver.
There you go.
Weaver, the A's not seeing as he pitched prior to, actually pitched Saturday.
Remember, these Angels will finish the season with a 4-game series in Arlington against the Rangers. They'll go home after this for Seattle and the A's, and then go to Texas. Barton takes a strike, 1-1. Barton has grounded to the pitcher and grounded to second. Another strike called on the outside corner.
Well, there's your difference right there. Gary Darling's not calling the inside, and that ball may be tailing off the plate enough. But it's the old angle, and one that is called.
Barton rolls and foul. The White Sox just finished off the Twins 4-3, so all the games are final in the American League. There's that curve, and it's fouled at the plate.
Thinking about the Angels finishing in Arlington, Texas against the Rangers. And they say that the final game of the regular season is one in which you get a lot of possible no-hitters or perfect games. Mike Witt of the Angels pitched a perfect game in 1984 against the Rangers, beat them 1-0. I think the game will last an hour. It was.
Swing the bat.
If you don't swing, we're going to get fined. Mike Witt in the game for him. Game of a lifetime, but game of the standings didn't mean that much.
Barton shoots one toward right center for a hit. Sogard will hustle to third, and the A's at first and third.
And Derek Barton hit a curveball against Yu Darvish in the last homestand, and he gets this curveball, staying on the outside part of the plate, shoots it back up the middle with Kendrick playing a little bit more to pull. And Barton with a huge gap up the middle, and he finds it. And Eric Sogard with a couple of outs, easily going to third base. Nothing else as Mike Butcher is going to pay a visit to his pitcher. The hard curveball. Ionetta's done a good job of blocking the curveball tonight, but runner at third, a little bit more critical.
So Sonny Gray was in a jam in the top of the 5th he got out of, and Garrett Richards in a jam here in the bottom of the 5th.
Sonny has thrown a lot of pitches, and think of the bullpen for the A's going to get some work. Last night they got some work, but not the back end of the bullpen.
So Donaldson is the hitter.
Garrett Richards walked Coco Crisp to lead off the game. He scored on a double by Moss. And on my account, that's the only other walk besides this, or besides the Sogard walk.
2 outs, runners in scoring position, a .314 average for Donaldson, and that's his spot right here. Sogard at third, Barton at first. Chance for the A's to take the lead.
Struck him out on a slow curveball. First pitch fastball hit in last at bat. Single sharp to the right.
There's that big breaking ball. Donaldson lays off nicely. Curve, and it snaps in for a strike. He will throw it anytime, any place, doesn't matter.
And it took to Callaspo last inning. Struck him out with runners at first and second. Sonny Gray is also throwing the curveball anytime.
And a fastball inside corner, 95 miles an hour, and Barry Darling liked it.
Well, the key there is Iannetta moving late. Gave the sign, the target, or at least the location. And then, as Richards got into set position, moved late, and he's now looking at Josh Donaldson to see if he might be looking back, which he's not.
On a high fastball, and Donaldson swings through the high heater. So 3 strikeouts, couple runners stranded, and we got a good one going, folks. 1-1 after 5. Major League Baseball honoring Roberto Clemente, and his highlights are always fun to watch. What a player.
Well, that's hitting. He can throw. He can do it all.
Yes, he could. Died in a plane crash, 1970.
His last at bat got his 3,000th hit.
Perfect. So Roberto Clemente Day around Major League Baseball, and also each team has a nominee for the Roberto Clemente Award. All 30 teams, and then the league-wide winner of the Roberto Clemente Award will be announced at the World Series this year. That one is drilled to right center. Reddick's on the move. Reddick dives, and did he catch it? Yes, he did. Sensational play by Reddick.
That's a double as Trumbull was on his way to second. He had Coco Chris backing him up, but Josh Reddick left his feet, got a great jump, did not break back, and Look at the ground he covers and then lays out. That is an all-out layout by Reddick, all on his own, and immediately hitting the ground and coming up, showing the baseball to snow cone, but then dropped it down in the webbing and the pocket of his glove. What a tremendous play to rob Trumbo of a double.
Thought for sure that was a double, folks.
Boy. I mean, considering where Reddick was playing, the way the ball was hit, and how much ground he covered.
So a monster play in a 1-1 game. Hit high in the air to left. And Moss has it. Cole Calhoun is retired. So the A's nominee for the Roberto Clemente Award is Sean Doolittle, and that was announced before today's game. And again, each major league team has a nominee for the award. One of those nominees will be selected. So a nice honor for Sean Doolittle. And
we'll be talking about him again tomorrow, but tonight it's about being nominated as the A's representative, and so much work he does. I mean, you have to realize he just came up last year to the big leagues, and he's already receiving this award for his contributions off the field.
5 pitches and some terrific defense by the A's. And Sonny Gray heads back to the dugout. Bottom of the 6th coming up. Still 1-1. This, folks, the home run by Brandon Moss, a walk-off in the 19th inning. That's right, the 19th inning. It was 1:41 a.m. when that home run left the ballpark. 6 hours and 32 minutes, and the A's won the game 10-8 in 19 innings. The night to remember, April 29th of this year, between these two teams.
And we had the nerve to interview him after over 6 hours of baseball, and he accepted it.
So Moss will lead things off here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Here's Sonny Gray, got a nice quick inning.
It's amazing what a great defensive play to start the inning does, as he was able to throw just 5 pitches. Might have gotten him another inning, although bullpen activity for the Athletics.
Curveball drops right in there first strike. Cook starts to throw, and he's warming up quickly. Moss hits it hard, and that's a base hit. And Moss makes a turn. He's going to try for 2, and Trout cannot pick it up cleanly, and he's going to be at second base with nobody out.
And you're right, he was going for 2 as soon as he hit it because of the way the outfield was positioning him. A long run for both Calhoun and Trout to get to it, but watch the explosion of this bat on a fastball after a very good curveball. There's the gap, and it's going towards the right center field area. And I think Trout knew, and that's why he tried to pick the ball up quickly to spin and throw, figuring that Moss was going to be running for two, and he was. He took off, and then he turned it on right there.
So it goes as a double, and here's Cespedes. First pitch to Cespedes is a fastball that's low.
Cespedes hits the ball to the right side. It will not be trying to advance him to third. It will be accidental. But he has hit so many shots to the right side. If he got it this time, it would probably be a run batted in.
Fastball is high. Reddick will be next. After Reddick, it's Callaspo.
I think Brandon Moss proved one thing about major league hitters. You can throw them the greatest curveball in the world, but then if the next pitch you throw them a fastball, it's as if they never saw the curveball because they're going to be ready. Hitters are pretty much fastball hitters, and no matter how many other pitches you throw, you finally throw them a fastball, and more times than not, they're going to be waiting for it.
That was a fastball, and looked like it had a little cutting action on it, moving away from Cespedes.
That's the purpose of the cutter, especially 2-0. It looked like a fastball moved just a little bit, that if he made contact, it'd be towards the end of the bat.
Pitch and a good swing by Cespedes, but that ball was up, out over the plate. So 2-2. A ground out and a strikeout so far for Cespedes in the ball game. 6 strikeouts for Garrett Richards.
Well, he threw a curveball in the dirt. His last at bat, maybe a slider, but it was in the dirt. Cespedes swung.
Lays off that one.
That's what we saw last year, where he made some great adjustments as the season progressed. He would be swinging at this pitch, but this time holding up, almost knowing that he was going to throw a breaking ball and out of the strike zone.
Big pitch, and here it comes. And a 3-2 curveball, big bouncer toward third. Romine has it, throws in time, and that's out number 1. How about that? A 3-2 curveball, and he gets Cespedes.
Well, the thing that he's doing, of course, he's throwing a great curveball, but his catcher Chris Iannetta is calling it, and there's no hesitation.
Number 16.
And that's the biggest factor, the working relationship between a pitcher and a catcher. That pitcher believes that no matter what Iannetta calls, he's going to throw it without any hesitation. That's what makes it a quality pitch.
So now Reddick with an opportunity. Ibar, he's sneaking in right behind Moss, trying to keep him close to second base. That is the go-ahead run. Reddick hits it hard. Kendrick goes into a slide to make the play and throws out Reddick for out number 2.
There's the importance of advancing the runner, the leadoff double, getting to third base. In this time of the game, the infield would have come in. That's a base hit.
Yep.
But infield able to stay back because Moss was still at second. Kendrick going down and making the play. Kind of a slide.
So here's Callaspo. Ground out and a strikeout for Callaspo. He struck out with 2 on and 2 out in the 4th inning. It's a line drive right into the glove of Ibar, and Richards gets out of it. The A's had a runner at second and nobody out. Cannot get him home. 7th inning coming up, still 1-1.
On the Minnesota Twins, 7:05 p.m. Be on the lookout for Star Wars characters roaming the ballpark throughout the game. Then enjoy the Star Wars theme show from the outfield grass. On-field capacity is limited. Purchase a special field-level ticket package at oaklandathletics.com/Star Wars to receive a limited edition Star Wars T-shirt while supplies last.
So it should be a big night on Friday night. It'll be game 2 of that series against the Minnesota Twins.
If the grandson Matthew is watching in Scottsdale, then he's probably saying, Papa, I like Star Wars.
Sure, he needs to be here. Let's get him here.
Well,
let's get him on a plane.
He went to the Diamondbacks game when the Star Wars character was there and had some pictures taken. So haven't gotten a call from Nikki yet, though, about Friday night.
When it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change, tune-up, and smog experts. Brian Cook comes in here in the 7th inning of a 1-1 game.
For Los Angeles.
So Sonny Gray goes 6 very good innings. Gives up 5 hits, just the 1 run, and he had 5 strikeouts. A lot of pitches for Sonny Gray, and he worked himself in and out of trouble.
Well, they finished on a strong note, especially after the great play by Josh Reddick. He did retire the last 5.
Iannetta, Romine, and Shuck here for the Angels in the 7th inning. And it's quickly 0-2. Cook last pitched on Sunday. Was in Texas, 2/3 of an inning, gave up a couple of hits.
He got the first 2 outs and then gave up the hits. Had to come out of the game. Grabbing a bat already. Seems like he just struck out. He did.
Well, we don't want to see Mike Trout bat in this inning. The Angels would have some action if he did. 8, 9, and 1 in their batting order due up. Foul territory. And it's going to be Barton who makes a difficult play. He was right on the edge of that mound out there, and he hung in there. So that's out number 1.
A good fastball, good curveball tonight for Sonny Gray with the 5 strikeouts. Good fastball in the first inning getting Kendrick, and then he went in another fastball. Here comes Uncle Charlie, and he was good with the fastball. And got Trout. Probably the best pitch tonight, the high fastball. Bob Melvin said, nice job, well done, see you later. Try to get a team win after he pitched 6 solid innings, just 1 run given up, and that was a home run in the first inning by Trout.
It was the 8th start for Sonny Gray, and he's really only had 1 bad start. That was the start in Baltimore, when he gave up 6 earned runs in 3 1/3 innings, but he's been very good in all of his other starts. Oh, and 2 to Andrew Romine, who has grounded out and singled. Fastball is high. Angels bullpen is quiet. Very close with the fastball. Tried to grab that inside corner. It's been hit and miss on that inside corner tonight as far as getting strikes called by Gary Darling.
Especially in there. That ball came back. Nice 2-seam. But no call from Gary Darling.
And now 3-2, and that goes for both teams. 2-2 pitch is line foul, and Romine may have swung at ball 4. Nice play down the left field line.
No glove needed.
Nah, use 2 hands. This one playable for Moss, who's in and over, and that's out number 2. So now to the top of the order, and J.B. Shuck. Rangers won tonight 7-1 over Tampa Bay.
J.B. Shuck.
Alexi Agondo started that game for the Rangers, and he got the win. Hellickson took the loss. Kinsler, Andrus, and Martine homered for Texas. The attendance tonight in St. Petersburg was 10,786.
The mayor of St. Petersburg is correct.
Yeah, I think he is too. I think you're right.
His comments were, if you can have a successful team and don't support the team when they're having the success, then why fight to keep them? And it's really kind of sad. But if they move it across the bridge to Tampa, then at least stays in the area.
Hit hard, but foul. Tigers beat the Mariners 6-2. Cabrera hit his 44th home run. So Detroit with a win. They now have a magic number of 6 to claim the AL Central. 1-2 to Shuck. And that one flared to left, and that's going to drop for a 2-out hit. Takes a nasty kick. Moss stays with it. So hit number 6 for the Angels.
They try to go back inside with the same two-seam fastball. Vogt inside, but the pitch
Number
middle
47.
of the plate and up. And all Shuck did was flare to right field. This is smart play by Brandon Moss. He had no chance to catch it. Kind of played it back, but knowing it has had some spin on the ball.
Nice play by Vogt on the backhand. The lefty Blevins is up.
Nice backhand, all you could do. That's it. Just use the backhand like an infielder, as Chris Iannetta did earlier.
Shuck runs, and Shuck is going to have a stolen base. And that's a big one. Pitch was a ball, so the count is 2-0.
As well as Vogt throws, as quick as he is with the release, this was such a big jump that he was not going to even think about it, because he knew he had no chance to throw him out.
And now it's 3-0 with Trout in the on-deck circle. It's like lately, Ryan Cook's had some trouble with his fastball command.
Well, and again, with his last appearance, got the first 2 outs and a couple of runners on base.
And 3-0, Kendrick had a rip, and it's 3-1. Some more tense moments in a 1-1 game. And that may have hit him, and it did. So Kendrick's aboard, 2 on, 2 out.
Well, there's the fastball command that's really not there. Kurt Young to pay a visit.
So it'll be Trout. So Trout against Cook. Great matchup here. He's 2 for 6 against Cook. So Shuck at second, Kendrick at first. First pitch to Trout is a fastball inside. That's where he keeps missing with that fastball. Up and into the right-handed hitters. Trout, his 25th home run of the year, a solo shot in the first. And that one is launched down the left field line, and it is foul.
That's what happens to a changeup or something of the nature. Fortunately, he got out in front because distance it had, almost too hard to hook, but fortunately it did. And that was crushed. So you can foul that one away. That pitch, I think we'll just say that one for maybe another day.
We'll go with just a loud strike.
Yeah,
How about that?
yeah. It hit the foul pole, would knocked it down.
It's crushed. So 2-1 the count. And that hits Trout, and now the bases are loaded.
Well, that's going to be it because Jerry Blevins was getting loose for Josh Hamilton, and I would think he got the nod that he's all right, and go get him, Jerry.
Another puzzling outing by Ryan Cook. He gets the first two, then gives up a single, and he hits 2 batters to load the bases. So it's going to be Blevins and Hamilton with the bases loaded and 2 outs when we come back.
Sportsnet California is brought to you by Xfinity, home of the most live sports, and by Toyota. Do the math and save at your local Toyota dealer.
All right, game on the line, folks. Cook is out. The bases are loaded, 2 outs. Blevins and Hamilton. Shuck at third, Kendrick at second, Trout at first. Watch the first pitch.
That's right.
Because he will take a rip at it.
And it's a fastball. He will be swinging. There's your curve.
And a good slider. Got the call, and it's 0-1. Hamilton a single and a couple of fly balls to left field. Lays off that slider, and the count 1-1. So So back-to-back hit batters. Do not see that very often.
Not as much as he was trying to run the fastball inside to the righties. It wasn't surprising. And especially to Trout, maybe try to overthrow to get it inside, which he did.
Pretty good take there by Hamilton. We've seen him chase that pitch a lot.
But he has to throw it almost at him to get him to see it and chase it, instead of, he can recognize it at the middle of the plate breaking away that it's going to be out of the strike zone. He's a good enough hitter to recognize that.
And he laid off again, and he looked at that one like he knew it was coming.
Well, he probably faced Jerry Blevins enough to know that that's what he's going to be doing.
3-1 pitch, a fastball right there, and it's 3-2.
Now that's the shock that it didn't swing.
So the crowd is going to get on its feet, and why not? Three-two pitch, breaking ball, struck him out swinging. So Hamilton took a fastball on 3-1, swung and missed at a breaking ball on 3-2, and the Angels leave the bases loaded in the 7th inning. Tonight, lots of tension, 1-1. Angels left the bases loaded in the top of this inning.
But after a 3-1 fastball, he threw a great curveball. See how he threw that one at Hamilton? More of a curveball that he threw it at him, and he had to swing because it was a strike. Enough of an off speed that Hamilton was way out in front, and Ryan Cook extremely happy because he loaded the bases with 2 outs. And Jerry Blevins, oh, just another day at the office. You know, he's a big star on the A's radio 95.7. He'll probably be talking about that tomorrow morning.
Sure.
No big deal. Just came in and bases loaded, 3-1. A crowded dugout, all the extra players, and having to stand up and get excited about this game in the 7th inning, tied at 1. It's an excited dugout. You like to see that anticipation of good things that happen.
A shot backhanded by Kendrick. So another nice play by Howie Kendrick. That's 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. He's made a couple nice plays.
There's some hard hit balls tonight on both sides. And the old Adam balls.
Garrett Richards rolls on. 6 in the 3rd innings now. He's got 6 strikeouts, a couple of walks. There is double action out there. Gutierrez is the right-hander. Bushers is the left-hander. And here's Sogard. Sogard has hit a fly ball to left field, and he has walked. See that big curveball. You almost see it come out of his hand.
Yeah, and you still can't do anything about it because you know it's going to be thrown, whether it's hard or soft. Definitely good rotation as he is pitching effectively into the 7th inning.
And that one, Sogard shoots into left field for a 1-out hit. So hit number 6 for the A's, and now he gets top of the order, Coco Crisp.
Young man's had a great season, Eric Sogard, and such a smart hitter. Took a strike, took a ball. Look at the location of the fastball, what he does with it. Outside, didn't try to pull it, just took advantage of the hole on the left side. And back-to-back at bats with 1 out, he gets on base. This time with the runner first, Trumbo's on the bat. He is not off the bat, even with left-hander Coco Crisp.
Tough play, but it's picked up by the shortstop, who steps on second base to get the out there. Coco beats the throw to first. It was kind of a play that was sort of in slow motion for a period of time. It went right between the legs of Richards, and luckily for the Angels, it rolled right to Ibar.
No, it went through his legs. He was trying to catch it. If it deflects the ball, there's no chance to get the runner at second. Fortunately, Coco recognized that he had to hustle to avoid a double play. And now you'd like to see Coco do something that he does so well, and that's steal a base. If Derek Barton, as a left-handed hitter, Coco with the green light, he tries to run early. And then it does throw well.
Barton had a base hit back in the 5th inning. Ray, is this a situation where Barton and Coco Crisp may talk before they come up and say, hey, I got a pretty good read on this guy, I'm going to try to go early, or is that a possibility?
It's a possibility. Coco could also say, I don't, and you know, you get a fastball, try to drive it in the gap, and I'll score from first.
And that one hit toward Ibar, and Ibar straightens up, throws in time, side retired. So Garrett Richards has been very good through 7 innings, and we're headed to the 8th. It's still 1-1, A's and Angels. Sportsnet California is brought to you by Casino Matrix, San Jose's newest entertainment destination. And it's open 24/7. Visit today and see for yourself the Casino Matrix difference. 1-1. It's the top of the 8th inning here at the Coliseum.
Mark Trumbo.
Nearly 19,000 tonight, and they have been entertained. You can be entertained by a pitcher's duel, and that has been the case tonight. So Doolittle comes in. They'll face Trumbo, Calhoun, and Ibar. Fastball first strike. Doolittle last pitched on Sunday. Through an inning and a third. Trumbo popped it up. Coming over is Vogt, and it's going to drop into the runway between the dugout and the clubhouse. So 0-2. Trumbo has bounced out, reached on an air, and been robbed of a hit. All right, doing the Doolittle.
If you're going to do that, you better grow a beard. One guy on the left with the Josh Reddick jersey has it, but somebody probably yelled, "Hey, we're on TV, let's all do it."
Trumbo hits a shot. Nice play by Callaspo. Turns and throws it out. Good positioning and a nice play by Callaspo. That ball was smoked.
Trumbo is tall, but a high fastball, that's the time you want to elevate a fastball, and look what he does to it. And right to Callaspo. And maybe it found Callaspo because he didn't have a chance to get out of the way. Just stood right there and took it.
The ball caught the play.
Oh, yes, it did. Sometimes it works out. That time it did.
So Trumbo has been robbed twice now. He's 0 for 4. And here's Cole Calhoun. Fastball inside. So Jerry Blevins gets the big 1 out in the game. And that's the only batter he faces.
After that one batter, that's enough to say I'm finished for the night.
You did your job.
Absolutely. But you know that there's been a history with Jerry Blevins and Josh Hamilton because of both of them being in the American League West. So a lot of games played between the A's and the Rangers, and now the A's and the Angels.
High fastball. Calhoun checks his swing. 2-1.
The young man Strong did not swing, although maybe could have been called.
This one's popped up. Shallow left field. And Sogard has it, and that's out number 2. Authentic Raider fans, turn to Comcast Sportsnet. We got in-depth coverage every day and online. Plus, the authentic post-game show of the team is Raiders Post-Game Live. The authentic home of the Raiders is Comcast Sportsnet. So here's Eric Ibar. It's going to be into the seats. See our great cameraman Ray. You read a promo about football and shows our picture, but then just pulls out enough to show the 50-yard line. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clay Wood appreciated that.
Yeah.
Clay tried to paint those lines and said after the hard work in the Sunday game and painted, but the dew got to the paint. Nice going, Marty.
The dew got to the paint.
Yeah, he said it had it all nicely painted, but the green paint out there, and then overnight,
the dew took over.
Dew did his job. Dew did it.
1-1 to Ibar, hitting from the right side for the first time. And he bunts. And it's picked up by Donaldson and then dropped on the bare hand. And there's not a whole lot he could do. maybe try to let it go foul, but.
And for Ibar, the pitch was the perfect location to try to bunt, which he did
Now
successfully.
batting, 17.
Inside, and Donaldson really, again, you want to look at some positives out of really a negative, and the positive is Donaldson doesn't come up with the ball, because if he does, he's going to throw, and he has no chance to throw at Ibar, and it might have gone down the line to put him in scoring position. So at least from that point, Ibar's at first.
Yeah, and I do not think that ball would have rolled foul. It was on the grass. The grass is a little damp. The Claywood dew. So either way, it's a bunt hit for Ibar, and you got to keep an eye on him.
Smart play.
And there's a strike to Chris Iannetta.
Yeah, Iannetta took that pitch thinking that Ibar is going to be running, which would not be surprised that if at least tries.
And Iannetta drives one to center, but Coco goes back and over. He's got it. Side retired. Bottom of the 8th coming up. A's 1, Angels 1. Donaldson will lead it off. The dealers, this was Mike Trout in the first inning. Another long one, his 25th of the year, and the Angels had a 1-0 lead. Bays would tie it in the bottom of the first. 2-out RBI double by Moss. 78th RBI of the year. And it's a 1-1 game. And then these two young right-handers took over. Sonny Gray and Garrett Richards, and they were both very good. Biggest out of the game, bases loaded, 2 outs. Top of the 7th inning. Blevins strikes out Hamilton. 1-7-0 for the Angels, 1-6-1 for the Athletics. As the A's come to bat here in the bottom of the 8th, Garrett Richards has been good, and he is back out there. Donaldson, Moss, and Cespedes for the A's, so the power is up. And Richards keeps snapping that breaking ball off. That one's in for a strike.
So the graphic earlier that showed the right-hander Richards pitching very well, 3-0 his last starts and got up just 2 home runs. 11 ground ball outs tonight. And
Ibar in the hole, long throw, and they missed the tag, and Donaldson's aboard. And Mike Scioscia immediately out of the dugout, and they're going to argue with Jerry Meals.
that's a surprise, because a lot of times, and you try to see if the runner moves. Looked like Trumbull came off the bag nicely to be able to make the tag. Ibar into the hole, another ground ball, and Ibar, strong throw. That's a very quick one, and it looks like he might have missed him. Wow, how are you going to? He's going to ask the home plate umpire, maybe, or if somebody saw what happened, but you really can't tell that way, and I don't even know if home plate umpire could tell that way. I mean, how can you really see that?
Not from that angle.
Not from that angle, and that's the angle of the home plate. See here if there's any contact. If there was, barely. And only Trumbo would know because Jerry Mills could not see it.
Jerry Mills can't see it. No, you're right.
And really, that's the time that he did ask for help, and it was just a difficult play for anybody to be able to see it.
So a leadoff signal for Donaldson when it's time for change. Think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change tune-up and smog experts. But he leaves, and that's his runner at first base. So the new pitcher is Buddy Boshers, a left-hander.
Mike Scioscia going to the lefty with Brandon Moss, and he has not pitched a lot. 18th game, so at least he's not faced the A's, but the A's know that he's got a good fastball, slurve, which is between a slider and a curveball, and there it is. And that's why he's in to face Moss.
That's Gutierrez. He's been down there a while, so he's ready to go. And this may be a one at-bat performance for Buddy Boshers. Boshers, 25 years old.
Well, and Bob Melvin not going to the pinch hit, which probably I think is an excellent move. First of all, Brandon Moss, an excellent hitter. Number two, you put a right-hander in. Then what's going to happen if this game continues?
Sure.
You know, you got Friera you have to worry about from the right side. You have to just know who's down in the bullpen that could be used if you take out the power left. Hey, Brandon Moss. And I was talking to Derek Barton about it last night. You can't hit lefties if you don't face them a lot. In the case of Derek Barton platoon, same with Brandon Moss. If you don't see lefties a lot, it's kind of tough. So Brandon Moss is staying on it. And he gets to stay in the game as Josh Reddick will follow Cespedes, who's a right-hander. So that's a decision Mike Scioscia has to make, depending on what happens with Moss and Cespedes in the on-deck circle.
And there's that breaking ball, and the count is 1-2. Moss 211 against left-handers this year, 265 against right-handers.
They're playing him to pull, but he's got to be thinking he stays outside with the breaking ball. Remember in Detroit, he faced two lefties, Alvarez and Smiley, and hit home runs. Right center and very deep to right.
Another slider, 2-2.
Mike Blevins facing Hamilton. If he throws the slider slurve middle of the plate away, hitters really can recognize it. But if he throws them at him, it's a more difficult pitch to handle.
And the breaking ball in the dirt, and Moss swings, misses. So that's a big out for Boshers, and Scioscia skips out of the dugout, and so Buddy Boschers certainly does his job. Came in to do one thing, and that was to get Moss, and he did it. So Gutierrez is going to come in to face Cespedes, and we'll be back.
The 2013 postseason rights. Just place a deposit on a 2014 A's ticket plan and secure your place in line for 2013 playoff tickets. For more information, call 510-638-GO-A's or go to oaklandathletics.com/deposit.
And the A's made the announcement today. They will open up the third deck for the American League Division Series. So that's pretty cool. And that will make the attendance, or the capacity, I should say, 48,000.
Yeah, well, tickets have gone so quickly that the A's have done that. And right now, trying to get there. And Cespedes comes up to face a very hard-throwing Gutierrez, who the A's know that his fastball is mid to upper 90s. Can throw hard. But if it's straight, Cespedes can hit a good fastball.
Cespedes has grounded out twice to third and struck out. Big Juan Gutierrez, his first pitch is a breaking ball that stays outside. Gutierrez 0-4 with a 4.11 ERA. He made 25 appearances for the Royals this year and then was placed on waivers, and the Angels claimed him off waivers from the Royals. Probably thinking, hey, this is a good arm. Maybe we can do something with him. He is a big fella.
They got Ernesto Ferreri last year, and nobody knew what he could do, and he's turned out to be great for Mike Scioscia as their closer.
Cespedes takes a strike, and the count is even at 1-1. Balfour is just starting to throw out the bullpen. Fastball, and Cespedes fouls it straight back. Balfour has just been tossing lightly. Michael Kahn doing the same thing down the right field line. So 1-2 with Reddick waiting in the on-deck circle. And here's the pitch, and it's just a bit low. 2-2. Outfield has Trout just slightly shaded to left center, not a lot. And a breaking ball that's popped up. Trumbo, a long run, near the seats, and he's got it. So Cespedes 0 for 4, and now 2 outs here in the 8th inning, and Donaldson still at first.
Well, hit too high and did not slice enough to go into the seats. And Mike Trumbo able to get over to the ball at the warning track.
Josh Reddick.
You know, Ebel trying to get the outfielders say no doubles with Donaldson at first, and now Josh Hamilton finally recognizes what's going on in the dugout, and they're going to move back. Hamilton left, and Trout, Calhoun very deep in center and right.
And Reddick drives one to left, but right at Hamilton. And he's got it. So Juan Gutierrez does a heck of a job. He comes in and gets Cespedes and Reddick, and we're still tied after 8.
Verse rewind. This is what looked like a double, but out of nowhere comes Josh Reddick, headlong dive, and makes a tremendous catch in right center. And that would turn out to be a catch instead of a possible double. And a 5-pitch inning, the only 1-2-3 inning for Sonny Gray. Matter of fact, the only 1-2-3 inning for the A's tonight, thanks to a great play by Josh Reddick. And that was in the 6th inning. Great play.
When it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change, tune-up, and smog expert. So Grant Balfour comes in 1-1, top of the 9th. Balfour last pitched on Saturday. He got the save. It was the 1-0 win over the Rangers. And he faces Andrew Romine, and the first pitch is a fastball up and in. Romine, Schuck, and Kendrick here in the 9th. If anybody were to get aboard, Trout would hit. Not close, 2-0. Donaldson in at third, and that one in first strike, 2-1. Romine is 1 for 3. He had a single in the 5th inning. 7 hits for each team. Outfield shifted toward left center and shallow, and a foul back. 0-2 pitch, very close. So full count to Romine.
Started, stopped, and not even close as far as a check swing. Pitch was down and in.
Broken bat, rolled foul past Alfredo Griffin. Griffin says, my days of field and ground balls are over.
Probably still could. It's young enough to do it, but maybe the body's just not working that well. Very good when he played, though. Long time. And Mike Scioscia, long time also as his coach.
Another 3-2. Swing and a miss. Romine chased. It would have been ball 4. Out number 1 in the top of the ninth.
But at least you know a fastball is coming, and there are times that a hitter will do this. You had a fastball up where it's almost impossible to make contact, and right through it. If he had made contact, he wasn't going to get a lot out of it. So good fastball, location that worked well for Balfour.
So 1 out. Here's the leadoff man, J.B. Shuck. Shuck is 1 for 3 with a single and a walk. Day baseball tomorrow. Shuck tries a hold up. He can't do it. 1-2.
After missing with the breaking pitch, how many times do you see a hitter just say, I know he's going to throw a fastball, and this one tied up Shuck where he could not make contact. Looked like he tried to stop his swing, but committed. And a good strike regardless. Great location.
Shuck popped it up, and it's going to be back into the seats. That matchup tomorrow will be A.J. Griffin and Jason Vargas. Large throwers, Frieri and Kahn.
I think the A's would like to see Kahn.
Yeah, that's
Frieri if the Angels take the lead. Their closer going softly. Fastball inside again. And we've seen Shuck when he's gotten fastballs middle of the plate and up a little bit away. He's gone to the opposite field.
Pitch in the dirt. And that's back-to-back strikeouts for Balfour here in the top of the 9th inning.
Well, fortunately with this swing that Stephen Vogt got down quickly and blocked the ball. This ball in the dirt, thrown very hard. That's where you want to see the pitcher throw it. Throw it hard in the dirt, try to get a hitter to commit, which Shuck did.
So it'll be Kendrick with 2 outs, nobody on base.
Ryan Cook got the first 2, loaded the bases. Blevins got out of it. Sean Doolittle got the first 2, a bunt by Ibar, got out of the 8th inning, and first 2 outs, strikeouts, and Howie Kendrick got. How sweet would it be to have a nice, easy 1-2-3 top of the 9th?
And maybe leave Mike Trout sitting in the on-deck circle, which is where he's at right now. To Kendrick. Callaspo, Vogt, and Sogard will be the 3 scheduled hitters for the A's in the bottom of the 9th inning. Game is tied. They'll face Michael Kahn. If the Angels have the lead, they'll face Ernesto Frieri. .31 pitch is right in there, so Kendrick's taken 2, and it's a full count.
Actually, I thought the 3-0 was a good pitch, but thinking that Kendrick was going to be, he swung 3-0 earlier. Did not this time, and then took 3-1. Fastball down the middle. I would say he's going to get another one.
And he swings and misses. That one was right by him at 93. And Balfour strikes out the side in the top of the 9th inning. So the A's will try to walk off winners as we go to the bottom of the 9th. This 3-game series against the Angels. Our coverage here at Comcast Sportsnet California starts at noon with A's pregame live, and then the ball game comes up after that. Jason Vargas and A.J. Griffin is your matchup. The home of A's baseball is Comcast Sportsnet, so we'll bring that to you tomorrow. So Griffin looking for his 15th win. Jason Vargas has pitched some good games against the A's in his career. Bob Melvin not thinking about tomorrow.
Nope.
Then when it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up. Your oil change, tune-up, and smog experts. Hard-throwing Michael Kahn comes in. His 60th game, and he's been a valuable reliever for the Angels. 96 miles an hour. Callaspo swings and misses. Kahn had Tommy John surgery, missing all of last year. He's come back. Certainly looks healthy. And it's 0-2. Callaspo, Vogt, and Sogard here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Pretty good shot to Iannetta.
Anytime the mask comes off, that's one heck of a shot. And off the glove and kind of stayed in the position, which is not good. Seems to have a lot of padding on his mask, which is very good. And extension on his mask to protect his throat.
Kahn just comes right at you. 95, 96 miles an hour. Again, foul back. Dan Otero getting ready for an inning that he probably hopes he doesn't have to pitch.
That's right.
It'll be the 10th inning.
That's right.
So 1-2 to Callaspo. The first breaking ball we've seen from Kahn. And may not see it again.
Yeah, that was one that you'd like to show, but hope to get it out. If you don't, you say, won't do it again.
And that one up, hit to left field for a base hit. Callaspo just went the other way. And the winning run is aboard with nobody out here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Jamal Weeks is going to pitch run.
How many times do we see a breaking pitch miss? The pitcher comes back with a fastball, and that might have been a ball, but with the pitch high and the fact that Callaspo can look for it, shot it to left field perfectly and starts the inning.
Number 19, Jamal Weeks.
So Weeks to pinch run and Vogt to hit.
Number 21, Seager.
All kinds of possibilities here for Bob Melvin. Check on Weeks, keep him close.
Well, if Vogt was going to be bunting, he didn't show it. And with the throw to first base, he sits straight up in the batter's box. Romine expecting it at third base. I think that Trumbull will be charging. Ooh, that was too quick of a move. He had to do something, which he did. And you have a runner first in the 9th inning of a tie game. Tell the world, I'm going to bunt. Just get it down, and that is the key. And the speed of Jamal Weeks, it should be good if he can get the ball on the ground someplace.
Vogt takes the ball, 1-0. Always a lot of talk about execution from the offensive side, but this is the part here where sometimes defensive execution can win or lose the game. Vogt trying to get it down, and he does, but it's foul, so they count 1-1.
Pitcher throws 93, 95 miles per hour. That's not an easy pitcher to bunt. Good technique. Trying to bunt it to first baseman Trumbo because he is holding the runner. He will be the one breaking late. If he bunts it to third, Romine coming in has a better angle to throw to second. Vogt again showing bunt. Nothing wrong with it.
So Weeks inches off first. And no bunt that time from Vogt, and the pitch is outside. So 2-1 the count. Outfield is deep.
The great thing about Jamal Weeks, spent 5 months in Sacramento, but the one thing we know he can do is run. And he is the pinch runner now. And with the outfield playing as deep as they are, nothing better if Stephen Vogt is going to be swinging to hit ball towards the gap and maybe towards left center, and this game would be over if it gets down and starts to roll.
Weeks goes, and the pitch is foul. So 2-2 now to Vogt. Sogard in the on-deck circle. After Sogard, it's Crisp.
Critical pitch for both hitter and the pitcher, because this is a ball you'd have to think Jamile's going to be running on a 3-2. If it was a hit and run, he had to go back to first with the ball fouled by Vogt.
That running, and the pitch is hit down the left field line. A long run for Hamilton, headed into the corner, and he's got it. And Weeks is going to tag. He's going to try for second, and he is in there. So very nice job of base running by Weeks. So now the winning run is in scoring position.
A ball deep enough to left field, and Jamile took off, but then realized that Hamilton was going to be catching the ball, and his momentum was going to take him into foul territory. And the fact that he had to stop, spin, throw, strong arm, accurate, but Jamile with tremendous speed. Boy, he almost went too far, but then to come back. And what a great job of tagging and taking off to second with a head first slide. And boy, he hit Kendrick hard. That's with his helmet in his neck. And
so it's going to be Jed Lowrie who's going to pinch hit here in the bottom of the ninth and try to win it. Lowrie hitting for Sogard.
The interchangeable parts the A's have. If it goes into the 10th, you got Kai Espo, Lowrie, middle infielders, and Lowrie has not played since Sunday. Start of the game did come out late.
So long meeting at the mound with pitching coach Mike Butcher.
Can't be talking about pitch intentionally walking, because Coco is a very good hitter in the on-deck circle. So more of strategy, how Cohn's going to pitch to him. It's all up to Michael Cohn. Nobody in the bullpen. Oh, they are going to walk him. That's amazing. They would set up the double play. So Coco. If somebody thrives on these situations, I think Coco is in that category. To be honest, I'd be surprised if it was, what do you think, who do you want to pitch to? It was probably more of Mike Butcher relaying the thoughts of Mike Scioscia instead of just putting four fingers up to talk about it, and they decided to put him on. Thing with Coco, with his speed, very tough to double up. So if he does hit a ground ball, unless it's hard at somebody, the A's at worst, if it's a ground ball to the infield, would have first and third, assuming that he can't avoid a double play.
So here's Coco. He's going to try to be the hero.
Best case scenario for a runner at second base would be 2 outs, so contact he could take off without even thinking about it. But now for Jamile, to know where the outfielders are positioned, the infielders are positioned, and depending how a ball is hit, if it is towards the outfield, he hopes to get a jump that Mike Gallego, the third base coach, can see.
First pitch to Coco. Swing and a miss. As Kahn, pretty good off-speed pitch.
Yeah, great changeup, and
86 miles an hour.
they're playing Coco to pull the ball, and almost the entire left side of the infield is open. Look at the gap on the left side. So you have to think that Cone is going to pitch him so that he's trying to pull the ball instead of a fastball where he could go to left field.
Swing and a miss again. So back-to-back off-speed pitches, and it's quickly 0-2 to Crisp.
And Coco is not striding, so definitely fooled by the delivery of Cone.
0-2 pitch is ripped to right down the line, but well fouled.
Well, after a couple of off-speed pitches, tried to throw the fastball, but again, Coco is so strong. How often have we seen him take a fastball? He's a little upset that he got out too quickly and pulled it. Look at Coco. It's almost like trying to make sure he does not jump out at the off-speed pitches after the fastball. Maybe thinking about getting another one.
Lays off that pitch, and the count is 1-2.
So Ibar pointing towards Romine. He was telling him that if the ball is hit in the hole, be prepared because he's going to go to third with a force or a possible force. Because he is shading up the middle so far.
1-2. These two teams, lots of great battles over the years. Good swing by Coco, and he fouled it straight back. So another off-speed pitch from Michael Kahn. Now his off-speed pitches are still coming in at 87, 88. That one 89 miles an hour. Hamilton, Trout, Calhoun are your outfielders. One-two pitch is high with a fastball at 95. 2-2 the count.
You have to think those are purpose pitches, more to think about and set up. Maybe the off speed again, even though it is thrown that hard, but it's much slower than his good fastball.
Pitch number 24 coming up from Michael Kahn in this inning. And it's high. And now you got a full count.
Coco again, no stride, just the upper body, not even close to being a swing.
So the crowd on its feet. A's trying to win it here in the bottom of the ninth inning. Inch just a little bit closer to a division title. And fouled straight back by Coco Crisp.
Back the same 86, and Coco got the pitch. It was up, but stayed back, and that's a great swing. Just fouled it. Thing is, with the fastball, if it means Coco waits, then he would hit the ball to left field. If he gets the changeup again, he might pull it. But he is, again, just upper body with his swing. No stride.
shoots it foul. That one running away from Coco and reached for it a little bit.
10th pitch in the at bat. Started 0-2. And a very good at bat by Coco. Waited. Fastball. Protected.
Wheats at second, Lowry at first. Timeout called by Coco Crisp. Crowd on its feet. Pitch. Lowry walked it.
That's a great at bat. That is a tremendous at bat.
So the bases are loaded, 1 out for Derek Barton. And they're going to bring an extra infielder in, it looks like.
Well, Coco started, held up, out of the strike zone. And another glove being brought in. Couple of gloves, maybe.
Well, we'll tell you how it all sorts itself out here. Looks like Calhoun is going to take over at first base. And Trumbo's going to play somewhere in the infield. So Calhoun has a first baseman's mitt. The hitter is Barton, so Trumbo is going to trot over to third.
Now batting, first baseman.
So Andrew Romine is the one guy who moves. And he is now on the right side of the diamond. So on the right side, it's Calhoun, Romine, and Kendrick. And then Ibar and Trumbo on the left side. So 5 infielders, 2 outfielders, and Barton with the bases loaded and 1 out.
And Barton has a very good eye also, but he's been more aggressive since his return to the A's this year.
First pitch runs inside, and Barton jumps ahead in the count, 1-0.
As always, you have to think the pitcher has the pressure. Intensely walked Lowry to get to Crisp. 10 pitch at bat, walked him. And now 5 infielders and 2 very shallow outfielders.
Pitch, good fastball, swing and a miss, and the count is 1-1. Hamilton in shallow left center, Trout in shallow right center. Like Barton just maybe pulled off just a little bit on that one.
Well, as much as he wants to try to be patient and not be overly aggressive in swinging a bad pitch, and he gets a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, you're going to get that kind of a swing.
Swing and a miss, up and in that time. So now Kahn is ahead in the count.
That out of the strike zone, but the movement taking it inside almost took Barton off his feet.
Donaldson is the on-deck hitter. One-two pitch. Fastball outside, 2-2. Pitches for Michael Kahn, and he's only got 1 out. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. 95-mile-an-hour fastball, and Barton strikes out, and that's out number 2, and back to normal for the defense of the Angels.
Unquestionable. Looked like it was too close to take. Barton just could not make contact, and that's what you're just hoping for, because it could have created almost anything if contact was made, especially with the 5 infielders and 2 outfielders.
Number 20,
Josh Donaldson is Derek Barton. Unfortunately, couldn't get the job done. Callasbo, the only one to get the ball out of the infield in this inning. And he is back in the dugout with Weeks pinch running for him.
So Donaldson steps in, the first pitch. High fastball, swing and a miss. So it's rear back and rocking fire for Michael Kahn now. Jemile Weeks, that is the winning run. A mere 90 feet away. And another fastball, that one right there, and it's foul back. So Donaldson behind in the count 0-2.
This was a win July the 14th, and that was the walk-off. Also had the big home run against Vieira. Henry Thornton here. See him get another pop.
0-2 pitch, line drive, base hit, and that's the ball game. So the A's are going to walk off in game 2 of the series, and they win it 2-1. Donaldson with the big 2-out RBI hit. So Donaldson, his third walk-off hit of the season, and the A's now have a magic number of 6 to win the American League West.